Good Sunday. Okay, welcome. We're on another week or another episode on Make Peace with Food. So today we're going to talk about, um, let me think. We're going to talk about what's the best diet for weight loss because that seems like to be a very common question, or at least that's what I see from patients coming to see me. They're on all different kind of diet. So you probably will be interested from my perspective what I think is the most efficient and the best diet for weight loss. And just let me introduce myself. If you're new here or do not know me, my name is Anata. I'm a registered dietitian, also a board certified specialist in pediatric nutrition, and um, and I'm also a certified hypnotherapist. So that kind of um, I felt that that's kind of how I bring a unique perspective into this whole weight loss journey because I have that medical background, working with tons and tons of patients, understanding the biochemistry, and I also understand the psychology because that's kind of one reason why I became a hypnotherapist is because I noticed that a lot of the patient who comes to see me for weight loss seems to have issues with the psychological side or the emotional side. So even though many people when they comes but when it comes to weight loss, they're thinking of counting calories, doing calorie deficit, but a lot of times it's actually 90% of the food choices and the reason why they bounce back to the old eating habits is all psychological, have nothing to do with you being lazy or lack of motivation or any of those things. So yeah, that's kind of where I came from. That's the really brief take. But I talk about my story, how me as a pediatric dietitian actually ended up helping people with weight loss and being successful with that. So anyway, let's get started. So um, yeah, so we're going to talk about what's the best weight loss diet, and actually this comes from like question from inside the blog um, where we talk about and share questions and support each other. And for those of you on Instagram who are not a member of the Facebook group, we do have a very intimate but growing Facebook group. Um, the name is called Make Peace with Food because that's basically what we're here for. And that's what I see with a lot of patients struggling with weight loss. It's not because they're eating the wrong food or they don't know how. Is a lot of times is they're struggling with food. Um, so we'll talk about that. And if you know what I'm talking about, then definitely you belong here. Okay, let's start with this question. Okay, let's let's okay. Facebook's been doing something funny. So anyway, let's start with this question. I'm having a hard time deciding which diet to go with. I've gone almost 2 weeks without pop, sweets. I've been eating a lot of salads, fruits, and vegetables, and chicken and white rice, and drinking a lot of water. I thought I was doing really good and came to my sister's, and she told me I was doing everything all wrong and I should do keto instead. So now I don't know what to do. I also have endometriosis and PCOS, so it's been hard for me to lose weight. And I really need to lose weight, and now I don't know the best way. Any help and suggestion would be helpful. Thanks. Okay, so let me think where to start answering this question. Okay, so to answer this question, this person obviously is struggling with weight loss and kind of felt like she's lost and confused and don't know what's the best diet because everyone have their own opinion. The thing is, okay, it's not gonna be a surprise, or maybe it's a surprise for some of you, but the best weight loss diet is the diet that fits your body and fits your lifestyle. What I see a lot of times over and over again, it's not like the patient that come to see me, they don't know what to do to lose the weight. They all know it. but they've been trying and trying over the years, so many years, doing exactly what they were told or what everyone said is the right way to lose weight, which is a calorie deficit. You you count your calories, eat 500 calories less, and work out every day, at least 4 or 5 times a week, and then drink a lot of water. And basically, those are things that everyone was told. But then, how come they're still struggling with weight loss and ended up coming to see me? Because that's the type of referral I get from doctor's office all the time: is patients struggling with weight loss for years, dieting, exercise, nothing works. And then when I start digging deeper into the history, what they have tried and all those things is they all have tried different kind of diet, right? So if all this diet works, why doesn't it work for everyone, right? And what I see in the in a medical society or community, or the way that we treat people with weight is that, hi Jane, is that what we see is that when it comes to weight loss, and actually in a lot of things in the medical field, is you get one diagnosis, you get one treatment. So that's kind of a very simplistic approach to treating anything. But the thing is, we're not even taking into consideration that everybody is different, right? That's the reason why I like certain food and you don't like it. Like some people will be like, oh yeah, I definitely love celery, but to me, celery is the most disgusting thing in the world. And then I also like cilantro, but then my friend, she's like, oh, cilantro is so gross and disgusting. It tastes like soap. So we all have different preference and chemistry, and all those food preference that we have is actually based on our own chemicals and maybe sometimes experience in our life, right? And I've seen so many patients, or my little kids' patients' parents will tell me that, oh my God, I would absolutely not eat beets, or I would absolutely not eat chicken liver, or absolutely would not eat white beans or things like that because they have bad experience with those food. So what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to the best diet that works, is really looking into your own self and ask and find the diet that works. It might not be something that just comes to your mind and then it works. It's it's going to be a little bit of a journey where you're going to try something that you know will work, and then you kind of like tweak and adjust along the way and figure out what's working for you. Um, the reason why I discovered this, maybe this is a good time I can talk a little bit about where I came from and how I learned all of these things to help my patient achieve their weight loss goal. So I'm a pediatric dietitian and I see a lot of like super high risk, very complicated children with rare genetic disorder whose only treatment is a very highly specialized um, crazy, difficult to follow type of diet because everything has to be based on their biochemistry because when their genetics is not working, they might not be able to eat certain type of fats, they might not be able to have any carbohydrate in the diet, or they have cannot have certain type of protein or amino acid in the diet. So it is my job to figure out what the body can handle and tolerate. So I have to have a very good understanding of biochemistry. And then on the other hand is I also have to figure out how to make the food or the diet fits into the chemics, into their defective biochemistry in their body. So they don't die because if they eat the wrong food, they can actually die. That's the type of patient that I've seen or familiar with as a pediatric dietitian. And then many years ago, um, they the adult clinic actually started asking me to help out with seeing some of the patients. So I was like, I'm a pediatric dietitian. I haven't seen children for like ages. So just give me your easiest patient, right? Like that was my thinking process too. I was like, the easiest patient is probably all the weight loss patient, right? Like, yeah, just eat 500 less calories a day, work out 4 or 5 times a week, drink a lot of water, cut back all your sodas and juice, come back and see me in a month, right? So that's the type of patient that I started asking for. I was like, I don't want to deal with all the bariatric patient or any other complicated ones. Just give me the simplest adult patient possible. So that's what I've been doing. And then I was like, okay, so I start seeing all these patients giving that standard advice that I was taught as a dietitian when I was still in school, right? And then one after another, all these patients all came back with no weight gain, or I mean, no weight loss. So I was like, oh my god, what's up with this patient? Like, why are they follow? Why aren't they following my recommendation? Like, why are they lying to me? Blah blah blah, right? So then over time, I was just baffled. Like, oh my god, what the hell's going on this side of the of the spectrum? Like, I work with kids all the time. I change their diet. They go home, follow my diet, and everything works out fine. They grow and thrive. And then when I come to the adult side, like, no one's losing weight, no one's listening to me, blah blah blah. So I thought it was my fault, right? And then after a while, then I start getting more weird referral. Instead of just weight loss, it's more like um, the doctor will wrote something like, "Oh, patients struggling with weight loss for years, trying everything under the sun, try dieting, exercising, calorie deficit, everything, and they're not losing weight. Please help." So then I was like, "Oh my God, what are you guys trying to do here? Like, are you guys hating me? Like, why are you guys sending me all these patients? Like, obviously these patients not don't know what they're doing or they're just lying, right?" So that was my thought as a dietitian. A lot of times we think that it is our patient like lying to us, like, why, how come you're eating so little and you're still gaining weight, right? You must be lying. So that was the thought initially. And then after a while, I was like, you know what? This is ridiculous. Like, after a while, like I said, I just thought it was my problem, right? Like me not being a good dietitian, not knowing what I'm doing. So then I was like, but wait a minute, I've been like working with children and the families all these years. I was really good at what I was doing, but I'm just lost in this adult side. So maybe it's not me, it's maybe the information that I'm giving, or maybe the way that I'm treating them, right? Because I was just giving them the, the standard recommendation, which every dietitian was taught to give the patient who wants to lose weight, is to cut calories, exercise, and all of that. So I was like, okay, let's change the whole thing. Let's start looking at the adult patient like how I look at my children's. Because when it comes to the kids patient, I don't have a standard because there's no standard out there for kids. But what I do with kids is I look at the whole body function, look at the eating habits, um, the body function. Are they having lung disease, heart disease? How often they exercise, or how do they move around? Because a lot of my patients are actually disabled, so they don't move. They might have to walk with crutches, or they might be bedbound, or they're on breathing tubes, so they don't breathe on their own. So based on all that body function evaluation, I figure out how much calories they need. And then also knowing the diagnosis, I dig into the biochemistry side and figure out what they can and cannot have. And then also in children, because there's a lot of intolerances as well. So I get a very good diet history to figure out what food they can tolerate and what not. So I switch my approach when it comes to seeing adult. And then what I start noticing is that the weight problem that these adults are dealing with has nothing to do with calories, but a lot of times it's the food choices that they have. Because after a couple of patients, when I start doing that, I realize that they're actually having food intolerances that they kind of ignore. Because in children, or actually in general, when someone is allergic to some food, like unless they're like in children, if they break out in a rash or they act up or certain things, parents will stop giving them that food, right? But then when it comes to adult, it's totally different. Like I've seen so many patients who will eat something like certain food and they know that they're allergic to it, but they still continue to eat it. So after some digging into the history, I find out that a lot of adults actually have problem with food intolerances and also digestion. So especially when women, I hear a lot of times they said whenever they eat red meat, the stomach feels really uncomfortable. They felt like the food is stuck in the intestine or stuck in their stomach, or they feel nauseous after eating, or all of those symptoms. But the thing is, when I was going through nutrition school, no one ever taught me that, hey, when patient come to see you, you're supposed to go through all of this stuff and ask them like symptoms, like do you feel nauseated? Do you vomit after eating certain food? Like do you have bloating, constipation, diarrhea, any of those? Like going through school, no one ever talk about those kind of things. It's all the things that I learned as a pediatric dietitian working along like in the same room with other pediatric subspecialty doctors. That's how I learned all of this stuff is like I work very closely with the GI doctor and the pulmonologist and I learned about all this like body function, how it affects metabolism and everything, right? So that's how I figure out what kind of questions to ask. So after switching my approach, like I said, I realized that a lot of these women struggling with weight loss have a lot of digestion issue, hormonal problems. Like in this question, this person asking this question, she mentioned about endometriosis and PCOS. So any type of female organ involvement is a hormonal disorder, but that's only part of it though because people when it comes to hormone when people hear the word hormones they automatically think of the male hormones and the female hormones but there are other hormones in the body as well like the thyroid hormones and also the ghrelin and leptin hormones that control hunger and fullness and also our sleep hormone like melatonin so all of those are hormonal kind of things. And anytime you have like hormonal stuff or female organ involvement, it's definitely a hormonal imbalance. And what else? So digestion, hormonal imbalance, and then a lot of stress. Stress not as in a sense that they're living in a dangerous situation, but stress that they're constantly feeling like they have to do more of everything. Like I said, a lot of the patient that I see struggling with weight loss, even both men and women, they tend to be in very high stress work environment. Again, I work in a military hospital, so a lot of people that I see is active duty and they have to have like a weight standard that they have to meet so that having to meet that weight standard a lot of time is a stress um, source of stress by itself. And then for my female patient who are stay-home mom, they have to deal with like the constantly moving in the military life, children adjusting, or sometimes it's just they have one or maybe two children with special needs, so their focus is constantly on the children because they just don't have the time to themselves. So those kind of like things that we don't normally think of as stress um, can build up and cause imbalance in the body. So going back to answer the question is that what I'm trying to say is calories counting is not the right choice and we need to in order to find the best diet for you both sides is you need to look inside yourself and figure out what food works for you and what not. And one thing to remember is that we need to stop thinking about food in terms of calories, but thinking of food in terms of chemical reaction because every food that we eat is going to trigger different reaction in our body. Overall, as the human race, we all have pretty much very similar, or actually not similar, the same kind of way how we process food, right? So every single human needs all of the nutrients, and we're talking about um, amino acids, glucose, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, and water. The only difference between all of us, between me and you, your neighbor, your friends, your kids, and everyone else, is how we accomplish those things. Because for me, like I'll speak for myself because you can try to imply it on your. Like for me, I will have to get my carbohydrates from fruits, vegetables, and like any other grains that is not gluten because my digestion do not like to break down gluten because when I have too much of that, it hurts me and it bothers my stomach and it bothers my whole body, right? So for someone who's allergic to milk protein, so that means that you're not going to get the protein, carbohydrate, and fats from milk. but you can always get it from other sources. So that's the unique part that makes us all different, is that we all need the same nutrients, but we get it from different kind of food. So what you have to do is, what I usually have my patient do is I put them on an elimination diet for a month, because usually that's all I have time to see someone is once a month. I'll have them go on an elimination diet for about a month, and then after a month or two, when most of the symptoms subsided, like the bloating has gone away, a lot of times they report that the body aches and pain disappear as well. Sometimes sugar cravings goes away too when they're on the elimination diet. When most of the symptoms disappear, and a lot of times they also lose a tons of weight when they're doing that as well. So then after the elimination period, I have them start bringing some of the food back, and I don't have a specific um, order to reintroduce any food, but always ask them to reintroduce food that they miss the most, because that usually is the food that they eat the most when they were not on that diet, and that's most likely is the food that's causing the problem. So I have them introduce the food that they miss the most. If nothing happens, great, they can continue to eat that. But if they start eating that food and they break out in rash, or if they have more irritation, the anxiety comes back, then I tell them, okay, we need to keep that food out of your system for as long as possible. But that doesn't mean you cannot have that food forever for the rest of your life. The only food I recommend that you never, ever, ever, ever have again is any food that cause you to have vomiting and diarrhea nonstop, or it causes you to stop breathing and threaten your life. Those are the only bad food you should have forever. Okay? Like if you just have an intolerance, or you notice that after eating certain food gives you a rash, then just don't eat it. It's up to you. It's your choice. Your mouth is over you, it's yours. So if you know that every time you eat certain thing, you're gonna have a swollen lips for a while, but you still choose to eat it, that is your choice. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm recommending what is best for you. So you'll notice that I'm not going to tell you. The only thing I'll tell you what to do is really all more based on the um, human biochemistry, and also what's right and what's wrong with our food supply chain right now. So yeah, so the best diet for you is really going on an elimination diet for at least a month or two, which I have super confident in all of you to follow that, because I know most of you have been on diet forever. So following a diet is not new to you. So, and just knowing that it is not a forever diet, it is, just think of you, if you just came out of surgery, you were from the surgery and you just have some stomach surgery. You don't go out and just eat whatever you want, right? So usually in the hospital, if you just have some kind of stomach surgery or things like that, we usually give you a meal plan or diet education on a soft diet. So think of it that way. So this is a healing diet. So you go on an elimination diet that eliminates a lot of the very common food that tends to affect digestion, um, immunity, inflammation, and all of those things. So when you're on that diet, you actually feel super good, because your energy level is going to go up, because you're not putting junk in your body that can actually make your body feel bad. And you're also going to have feel a lot better about yourself, because when your energy level is up, you're going to have better mood and more confidence. So but definitely you need to try to be on that diet for at least a month to see if it works. And like I said, 100% of the time, my patient will feel a lot better. Then the next step is we'll start introducing some of the food back, that to see which one is bothering you. Any food that bothers you, change your mood, makes you more upset, makes you tired, gives you rash, gives you stomach pain, gives you blood in your poop, or makes you vomit or want can't eat food. Those are food that we're gonna avoid. So that's the second step. The third step is we're gonna work on the emotional eating, because what I notice is that a lot of these people that I see who's been struggling with weight loss years after years, they kind of get into a loop that they ignore the body signal and keep following some random diets that never work. So they're not listening to the body, and they also ended up with a lot of disorder eating because of that restrictive eating behavior. And studies after studies do show that dieting itself, like going on a diet, try to restrict, like not eating this, not eating that, eating low calories, all of that kind of behavior actually cause eating disorder or disorder eating behavior. So that's one another reason why a lot of these people initially they can lose the weight. When I put my patient on an elimination diet, like first month and 2 months, sometimes even lasting 3 months, they're able to lose the weight and keep it off. But then always between second and the third month, they all flip back like a rubber band stretch really far, and then they just snap, and then they just all go back and start binge eating again. So that's where I discovered that the binge eating behavior is not something that is because you have no motivation or you're weak or you're lazy or you're good for nothing. Is none of that. Is all because the binge eating behavior is actually an emotional coping mechanism that people are using as a way to suppress or hide away from some uncomfortable feeling. So, like I said, a lot of these people that I work with who are struggling with weight loss for over sometimes 10, 20 years, or sometimes even when they're a teenager, that they've been struggling with weight loss, is that they tend to be very high achiever, not only in a career sense, but also in like a family life way. Like a lot of the stay-home mom felt like they have to do everything for the kids, do everything for the husband. So they felt just doing everything for everyone else and not doing anything for themselves. So when time comes that they feel like stressed up to the eyebrows, the only way they find comfort and calmness is to go sit down and eat a whole bag of chips or a whole bag of candies in one sitting. So those are things that I discovered working with this population. So that's how I started switching my approach, helping them eliminate all the food that cause the physical symptoms in them, and then also at the same time working with the psychology part. So for the psychology part, or the third steps here we're talking about, is that I will always have them start a journal. I have them write down all the food that they eat throughout the day, and I tell them I don't care about the calories, how much you ate. Just write down something just to remind yourself what you ate. I don't need to know what you eat. I want you to know what you ate, just to remind yourself. And then I also have them write down um, how did they feel before and after eating, and also what happened with or what triggers the eating. And many times when they come back, it's like they'll they'll report something about stress eating. So stress eating is a very significant and the most common trigger for eating, because a lot of times they said they eat because they're stressed. They also eat because they love food, because love calms them down. Then you need to start asking more questions. Why does food calm you down? One of the things that most people do not realize is that chewing food, the act of moving the jar, is actually very calming. That's why some people um, chew gum to help them relax, because that chewing movement is very calming. Also, if you look at little babies who are like, you know how if you have kids, when your baby is little, every time your baby cry, you put a binky in the mouth and then they stop crying, right? So the chewing movement of the mouth is actually very calming. So that's why some people are very attached to eating food when they feel stressed. Like, is that clenching of the jar actually helps to relax them. So yeah, one strategy or trick here is really maybe chewing some gum, but I don't know. Probably a dentist needs to to say it's okay, because maybe too much chewing is not too good for the jawbone or whatever. But just knowing that eating can be calming, but just the more important is really finding out why you're eating in between meals. And the question also to ask is, if one candy makes you happy, right? Or when one cupcake or one cookie makes you feel good, why you need to eat the whole bag, right? I have one of my patient, she she said that every time she eat a bag of chips, she have to eat all the way to the bottom until the last piece is gone. And we're not talking about the little snack size. We're talking about the big family size 15-ounce, 6 like a whole pound, 1 pound bag of chips. She said every time she have a bag like that, she has to eat every single piece of the chips until it is all gone. So we did some work with her. Then she came back and she's like, when I was growing up, when I was 10 years old, my mom have gastric bypass surgery, and after the surgery, because she have to eat so healthy, she took all the junk food out of the house. No candy, cookies, crackers, or chips or anything. And I told myself when I was that age, I was like, I swear to God, when I grow up, when I have money to buy my own food, I'm gonna eat whatever chips, cookies, crackers, whatever things I want. As as much as I want to. So that was her fundamental or deep beliefs. Then I have another patient actually um, I do hypnotherapy for people with binge eating. Um, the way it works is when when in hypnotic state, I can actually talk to the subconscious, and the patient can tell me exactly what happened and how all that binge eating started. So for this person is that um, he grew up in a very strict household, and the parents are so strict that they don't allow him to have anything sweet, even fruits. They don't allow him to have that. So they hide all the sweet stuff in the basement in the house, and he's not allowed to eat anything that is sweet or dessert type of things in the house. So then what happened is he'll sneak into the basement because this is like many years ago. This is an older gentleman. So his parents will make their own will can their own fruit, and they'll store it in the basement away from him so he cannot find them, right? But of course, anytime, like I've seen this all the time, if your parents out there, don't even bother hiding any of the sweet stuff in your house. The kids will always find your stash. There's no way you can hide it. But anyway, so he sneak into the basement without parents knowing and then eat like jars and jars of the fruit before parents found it, right? So he's like, just eat and eat. And then other incidents that he tell me from the hypnotherapy is that he start having, I think when he was older, he started a paper route and start delivering newspapers. So he's earning money. So he has own money. So he said every time after he get paid with his money, he'll go to one of the bakery and just buy like a lot of donuts. I think he said something like he'll buy like 4 donuts and he'll eat all the donuts before he goes back home, before his parents find out. And then there's another incident. Let me think. I can't remember. That was a while ago. But basically, like sometimes so I mentioned about some people eat out of stress, right? But there are other incidents where people binge eat is because of the restriction they're experiencing when they're little. And another of my hypnotherapy patient who came to me for help with binge eating as well, her story is a little bit different. Well, it's kind of along that line. But the thing is that she grew up in a household where her sister has an eating disorder. So because everyone was so nervous about eating around food because of the sister's eating disorder, they put like an unusual interest in her eating as well. So they're constantly monitoring her eating, even though she was the normal one without the eating disorder. But they're always constantly watching what she eats, kind of like gauging her, like if she's eating too much or too little. So that extra attention pushed her the edge. So she grew up as an adult having like disorder eating in the form of binge eating. So then that's something that we need to look at. If you're suffering from like a binge eating disorder or emotional eating, is like we need to start digging deeper. Like I said earlier, is like what was triggering it, right? So that's one of the things. Second thing is is looking even deeper to the source of that binge eating disorder. How did you develop that? What was the what was the event that caused your body or your mind to think that binge eating is good for your soul, right? So those are things to look at. But so the benefit of doing using hypnotherapy is that during hypnosis, your conscious or your logical mind is put to sleep. Your logical mind is basically the part of your mind that keeps telling you that you can't do this, you can't do that, right? But then when that mind is sleeping, the conscious mind is awake, and actually the conscious mind is 24/7 always awake. It's just that when we go to sleep at night, it is the conscious mind or the logical mind that goes to sleep. That's why sometimes we dream, and sometimes the dream actually have meaning. Um, but yeah, so when you look at regular day-to-day basis, if you look at like you get triggered, because I've seen a lot of people get triggered by food. So when something triggers you, that's the really the keyword. When something triggers you, meaning that someone did something, say something, you suddenly have this very strong emotional feeling. That's the trigger. Then you need to step back and think and think and think many years back, or maybe a few years back or a few months back. When was the last time you have that same feeling? Because the first time that you have that feeling of that trigger, that burst, that intense burst of emotions, that was the time that was imprinted on you. That emotions is ingrained in your body. Because the thing is, people don't realize is that how our mind and body is connected. When you know how when you're walking on the street, you try to cross the street and then you're not paying attention, or maybe some car was driving really fast, you step your foot into the road and suddenly like a car goes by you really fast and you're like that, right? You suddenly your adrenaline just rush. You know, when you have very strong emotions like that, some of that emotion is actually ingrained into your body and it gets stuck in there for a while. Then every time you step on the road or try to cross the street, even though you're like really watching, looking, make sure no cars here, when you step on the road, you kind of have that little bit of like feeling coming back, right? Kind of like a PTSD, but in a very mild form. And that's basically what PTSD is. When someone experiences something so emotional, it just that emotion gets stuck in the body, in the tissue, and everything. So it's the same thing. Whenever you have like some kind of trigger to trigger you to eat, think back and try to think when was the last time you have experienced that same feeling. And again, hypnotherapy is a really wonderful therapy too to help resolve some of that old belief. So if you're interested, DM me and I can schedule a free consultation with you and we can find out if hypnotherapy is right for you. But but again, going back to answer a question about having what's the right diet is really there's no one best diet for everyone. We know fundamentally as human beings we all need carbohydrate, protein, fatty acid, water, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. Those are the basic nutrients that the body needs. But we all, because of our unique makeup, we all acquire those nutrients in different forms. And like I said, in my case, I just can't get it from gluten product. But that doesn't mean I don't eat bread ever again. I occasionally will eat bread or cookies or crackers just because it was there, just like anyone. I'm not a saint. But knowing that I'm not supposed to eat that, and I might suffer, and I might suffer some consequences, is something that I accept. But that's like something that I think part of this whole make peace with food is about is that we always have to allow ourselves to have something not the best for our body because junk food is just junk food, right? It doesn't do anything for us, but sometimes eating those make us feel good. So we also is eating not just for physical health, but also for mental health as well, right? Because you know, if you're listening here, you know solution. The solution is really loving yourself and giving yourself what your body soul needs. So if your soul say, I need a hug now, you're gonna give yourself a hug, right? Like your kids or someone you love. If you felt like they need a hug, you're gonna give them a hug. You're not gonna say, oh yeah, just snap out of it, right? You don't do that. So it's really part of this whole weight loss journey. If you want to really lose that weight and cap it off for life, forever, is really learning to love yourself and love your body and give your body and yourself what you need, not trying to please everyone else. I I can see a lot of you trying to please everyone. You want to please your children. You want to do everything for your children. You want to do everything for your husband. You want to do everything for your boyfriend, thinking that the more you do for them, the more they love you. But that's not true. If it's true love, they love you more no matter what you do. Even if you don't do anything, they'll still love you if it's true love. If you felt like you have to do more to earn their love, that is a very old childhood conditioning that you learn growing up, is that you have to do more, be smarter, be prettier, be better, and do more for others to earn your love. But you don't need to. But that's something that you need to learn or unlearn in order for you to be successful in this weight loss journey. Is that you don't have to do more or be more to be loved. You right now where you're at is loved and is perfect. We just need to relearn that, and for you to accept that you are perfect just the way you are now, and you don't need to become better or do more just so people will love you. Okay, your children love you just the way you are. You don't need to do everything for them. You don't need to make all the meals and only feed them food that they want. Even if you feed them things that they don't want, but you know it's healthy for them, and they make faces, say it's yucky, that doesn't mean that they don't love you. Okay, you know that you're a good mom, good parent, you're doing the right thing for your children. So learning self-love is very important as well. So I guess that will be the fifth step. Four. Okay, I'm lost in my step. So first step is the elimination diet. Second step is reintroduction. Third step is what was that? Identifying the emotional trigger. And then I guess fourth step will be learning to love yourself. Okay. All right. So that's basically the thing about the best diet for your body, and also working for your lifestyle, because that's something that I see all the time. Like I have patients. Okay, maybe I'll talk about ketogenic diet a little bit too. I've seen so many patients come to me, like almost everyone goes on try ketogenic diet nowadays, right? But then it seems like everyone gains all the way back. They're like, oh yeah, I did the ketogenic diet, lost like 30 pounds in like two months, but I gained all back. So I was like, so what happened? They're like, oh, it's not sustainable. I just can't keep making two dinners every night, or I just I just let myself go. I miss all the other food, right? So we know ketogenic diet works, but it's not sustainable because it's so restrictive and it doesn't fit into our lifestyle. So we just have to find something like a healthy medium. So the ketogenic, the reason why it works is because when you take out all the junk food, right? Because most of these people that I see, they get to a way where they are is they're eating the wrong food, and a lot of the food, especially if you're in that calorie counting religion, you're counting all the calories. So then, in that case, cupcakes, cookies, crackers, all of those things, or fast food, everything goes right if you're counting calories. But again, like I mentioned earlier, is calories doesn't matter. It's the type of food that you eat that matters. So when it comes to the ketogenic diet, the reason why it works is it actually eliminates a lot of the junk food or the snack food, right? Most of the snack that people eat are like chips, cookies, crackers, granola, and all of those things. So they're all sugar and carbohydrate based. And even though some of this food actually sounds really healthy, but it actually increases inflammation, especially in the female body. And in the case of the female body, the reason why the female body have such a harder time than men to lose the weight is because of the hormonal imbalance. So when you take out a lot of that processed food, when you go on the ketogenic diet, you also eliminate a lot of the food additives that is added in those processed food. Because what I notice is people who are struggling with weight loss years after years, they tend to eat a lot of processed health food. Like pretty much if you go into a kitchen, everything that they eat is like diet this, low fat this, low calorie that, low salt this. Everything that they eat is like some form of a diet food. So when you're eating so much processed foods, you're also ingesting a lot of um, man-made food additives. And people think that, or at least food manufacturer will tell you that, oh yeah, those are just things that we put in to keep the food fresh, to make the food looks better, blah, 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 blah. But what they're hiding from you is that these chemicals is still going to affect your body, because your human body is not an empty bucket that you pour something in and then pour something out. It doesn't work like that. Your whole body is all biochemical based. Everything, like you watching me, like here talking and everything, is all run by biochemistry. Like all different kind of chemicals and everything's going on. So when you put chemicals in your body, it's going to affect your body in some way. Like don't be so naive to think that the chemicals in the food is not going to affect your body. It does. Like if it doesn't, then someone need to explain why the obesity rate in this country tripled since the 1970s. Okay, so if all this chemical in the food is not hurting our body, then humans, we should still have a very low obesity and overweight um, stats in this country right now, but it is not. So, so the chemicals do affect us, and so the ketogenic diet remove a lot of those carbohydrate junk, and then people are more conscious, right? So they're actually eating fuller, but then a lot of people are also still counting calories. So we don't really know what kind of weight they're losing, because they could be losing tons of muscle mass when they're on the ketogenic diet, because a lot of these people assume that when they eat the ketogenic diet they actually start losing body fat. That might or might not be true, but it's hard to tell unless you do like a DEXA scan before and after. So then that also explains why when they get off the ketogenic diet, they gain a tons of weight back, because when you go on a diet, you actually decrease your metabolism. Okay, I'll explain this really quickly. So when you when say normally you eat 2,000 calories a day, right? And then so you eat 2,000 calories, your body burns 2,000 calories. But when you go on a diet, like any dietitian will tell you, is, oh yeah, you cut 500 calories. So you go from 2,000 calories, then you drop 500 calories, right? So the assumption is that your body metabolism will continue to be at 2,000. So now you have a 500 calories gap. So you're like, oh, great, I have a calorie deficit. But no, that's the first mistake or first fallacy, is that when you drop 500 calories a day intake, your body also drop 500 calories a day to match your caloric intake. Your body is not stupid enough to keep burning in a negative. Because very simple analogy is, if you normally make $2,000 a day, $2,000 a month, and then suddenly paycheck get cut in half and you only get 1,000 calories a month, do you still spend at a $2,000 level, or you drop, right? So when your income drop, your spending drop. When your intake of food drops, your body metabolism drop. So now when people go back like 2 months, 3 months later, they're like, oh yeah, I reached my goal weight. Let me go back to my old eating habits. So they go back to 2,000 calories. But then your body is already stuck at this metabolism level. So now you go back up to 2,000 calories, but your body is still functioning at 1,500 calories a day. So now you have that surplus of 500 calories now. And it's going to take your body a while to get back to that 500 to get back to that 2,000 calories expenditure level. And that's something that is completely doable, but you just have to unlearn all the old dieting mentality, the old calorie counting mentality because you know it doesn't work. Like it's really easy to figure this out. If cutting calories, exercising a lot doesn't work, then just do the opposite. Start eating more calories and start eating and start or at least stop exercising as much. So oh, the ketogenic diet. The other thing about a ketogenic diet is the reason why it doesn't work is because a lot of the food that is allowed on the ketogenic diet is actually can cause inflammation. And again, in the female body, because we have all that hormones fluctuation throughout the month, on the ketogenic diet, you'll notice that a lot of dairy product, a lot of cheese, whole fat milk, and cream and stuff like that. People don't realize that, like as a whole country and as a whole world, we're so brainwashed to think that milk is such a great thing. It probably is a good thing if you live in some countries who just get the milk fresh from the cow and the cow are not raised in any cattle farm or anything. But today, the milk, even the ones that they say have no hormones or no growth hormones or antibiotics, anything added to it, it is still a pretty bad choices. Is because cows nowadays. So normally, like olden days when farmers raised cows, they have the cows run around, and then they mate, and then they might have a baby now. Then maybe a few years later, they have another cow baby, right? So when you have like us as women, we know when we're pregnant, we have pregnancy hormones. So our growth hormone goes up, or along with other hormone goes up during pregnancy to keep the pregnancy going, and then some of that hormones continue um, to stay in the body, so the body can lactate and produce milk. So same thing happens in cow, but the hormones probably a little bit different. But what happened is in today's world where they raise cows or dairy cows is they keep the cow pregnant, one baby after another baby, so there's no break. So that means that all that pregnancy hormone is constantly elevated because they need the cow to be continuously generating milk, right? Because if they get pregnant and then cows mature in like 8 months, right? So they stop making milk in 8 months, then if they don't get pregnant again, they don't make milk. So then what they do is, excuse me. So what they do is they just make the cow pregnant one baby after another. So the pregnancy hormone is always high, the lactating hormone is always high. So even though they're not adding hormones in the cow's diet or adding antibiotics in it, the hormones, that natural hormones alone. And also remember when cows making hormones in the milk to feed a baby cow, that hormone, that growth hormone, is for baby cows that matures in 8 months. Humans matures in about 18 years. Baby cows mature in 8 months. So just understanding the magnitude of the type of hormones or growth hormone that is in cow's milk. So then when it comes to like someone being on a ketogenic diet, exposed to all of that hormones, still natural hormones, right? Like people like the word natural, like anything natural is so good, but yeah, that is still natural hormones from the cow, but by being artificially um, getting pregnant all the time. So that's another reason why ketogenic doesn't work for a lot of women is that it's artificially um, or indirectly or whatever the word is, like you're just taking in all that extra additional hormones that your body doesn't need. That is also affecting your hormone system, especially if you're dealing with endometriosis and and PCOS. So like in this person's question is that the best diet for her is to avoid dairy product at least minimum. And no, actually two things I would recommend her to avoid is avoid all dairy products and also avoid all processed foods, because what I've noticed in a lot of people with endometriosis, they do a lot better on a very clean diet that have no hormones and no preservative and no chemicals in it. So try that out. And if you're interested in requesting a consultation with me, you can message me, DM me um, on Facebook or Instagram or any other route that you can find me. Okay. All right. I think that's it for today. I think I spent like the whole time answering just one question. But I hope you learned something today, and that's all based on my experience. So, like I said, if you want to work with me, just DM me. I love to work with you. Okay? All right. Thank you so much, everyone. You all have a very good and wonderful day today. All right. See you next week. Bye.